Hello, I'm Sara Grant, author, editor, mentor, and university lecturer. I've spent the last 20 years developing a series of more than 75 practical exercises and interrogation that transform my works in progress into manuscripts that can hook agents, editors, and ultimately readers. So I've collected everything that I've learned through this long, intense process of trial and error into my book, The Ultimate Guide to Editing Your Novel, a revolutionary approach to transform your writing. I think that having a comprehensive approach to editing allows you to enjoy the creation process. When we kind of allow ourselves as writer the freedom to explore, experiment, and play, we often write our way into a wonderful story. So I give myself that freedom to write the worst first draft imaginable because I know that I will whip it into shape using my systematic approach to revision. So I've come up with 7 straightforward tips and tests to editing your novel. And here I go. So number 1, before you start your revision, ask why are you writing this particular story and why you're the only one who can write it. And you want to keep your answers at the heart of your revision. So having that personal connection and a passion for your story will keep you writing and will help you make those difficult decisions in revision. So those questions are, why are you writing this particular story? And why are you the only one who can tell the story? My second tip, edit the big picture first and slowly and systematically work your way from the big picture to the minute detail. So edit in layers. Don't waste time line editing when you may ditch an entire chapter. Don't start polishing until you've solved the overall issues of plot, subplot, character arcs, theme, pacing, setting, all the big things. So second tip is edit the big picture first. My third tip is read. Read books in the same genre and for the same age as the reader that you're trying to attract for your work in progress. So read books for the same genre and the same age as the reader of your work in progress. The more you fill your brain with great writing, the more likely you are to produce it. So read not only for inspiration, but also note what works and what doesn't work in those books, what you like and what you don't like. And if you're having problems with some aspect of your novel, say a character is being problematic, their emotional arc isn't what you'd hoped, find a novel with a great character with just a compelling arc, and then look at how that author did it, and then figure out how you can bring what you've learned into your own writing. So I love this book, A Gathering Light by Jennifer Donnelly, one of my favorites. You can see it's well worn because this is one of those books that I loved, and I loved what she did. And you can see that I have written in the book and I have made notes, and I read it with a notebook alongside me, noting the plots and subplots that she had and how she tied them together so effortlessly and how she made me love the story. So it's something I do quite a lot. Whenever I have a new project, I will collect a set of books and I will start making notes and learn from really great writers. Exercise 4, and it is exercise to help you add depth to your character. And it's from my book, and it's one of my favorites. I came about it in a really interesting way. When I was in the States, I've lived in the UK for 22 years now, but I worked for a company that would pay for any college class I wanted. And so I took a class called Murder in America. I don't think that's a class my boss expected me to take, but it was fascinating because I always wanted to write a murder mystery. And we had an FBI profiler come to speak. And he said something that I've always remembered and that I apply to my writing. He said to solve a crime, he had to uncover the lives of the victim. So the lives, plural. He said we all have 3 lives. He said we have a public life, a life that anybody could know about us. So you can know Sara Grant as a writer. You now know that she's from America and moved to London 22 years ago. Anybody could know that. We all have a private life. So things that only our friends and family know about us, those more intimate details. But he said we also have a secret life. We have those things, those secrets we never tell anyone are only known to us. So when I'm developing a character, I think of what is their public life, what is their private life, and what is their secret life. And I find it's a great way to kind of add those layers to your character. So that's my 4th tip. My 5th one, if you're having plot problems, So your action is sagging in the middle, or your plot isn't packing the power you'd hoped. I like to use some tried and tested formulas as diagnostic tools. I don't I don't plot to a formula, but I do quite enjoy using them if I think I'm having a problem. So for example, this is my chart. It's in the book. It's Hero's Journey. And if you search online, you can find a lot of different explanations for the stages. And this is just a worksheet that I use. And again, it's in the book. And I will try to plot my novel based on the hero's journey. And I did this for my first novel, Dark Parties, and I found where I hadn't included certain things, and it really helped me figure out what wasn't working. And I reorganized some of my chapters and added a few chapters based on what I'd learned. Also, if you search for Story Grid, I've never taken a class from Story Grid, but I've used their tools a lot. You can get what they call cheat sheets, and all you have to do is go online, look under genre, and they have cheat sheets for action and romance and crime and all different kinds. So I just pulled one. This is the action adventure cheat sheet, and it is, again, a diagnostic tool. If things aren't working, it says, what are the obligatory scenes that readers who love action adventure will be looking for? What are the conventions that they will expect? And I go through and see if I've, how my action adventure story is stacking up to the Story Grid cheat sheet. And I find that helpful. And my one last kind of diagnostic is Blake Snyder, Save the Cat Strikes Back. In here, he has a beat sheet. You can also find it online, search Blake Snyder beat sheet or Save the Cat Strikes Back beat sheet. And it will give you kind of a chart of, this is for movies, but it will give you a step-by-step beat sheet for a movie. They also have mapped current movies using the beat sheets, and I find those examples really helpful. Again, I don't plot using any of those tools, but as a diagnostic tool, if you think your plot isn't working, it's one of those three are my go-tos. So hopefully that's helpful to you as well. My sixth tip is a quick test for setting. So I am not naturally inclined to scene setting and description. And I would often write a book. Early when I was in my writing, I would set the story in any town, USA. So a very small town, because that's where I was from, that's what I knew. But if you could pick up any of those stories and move them to another setting, and it would make no difference. So this is a test to see if your setting is working hard enough. And I always say, if your story could, or even a particular scene could take place anywhere else, then you aren't maximizing your scene. So I do this little test, and I apply what I call the census test to each scene. What do you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell? Now, you won't find all 5 of those in every single scene, but what do you use? What do you normally use to draw me into a scene? Highlight those places in each scene where you're bringing the scene to life. Look at what you share, what you see, what you hear. Smell is one that we often forget, but a very powerful, connected to memory. It's the sense most connected to memory, which is very interesting. Have you done enough to ground me in the scene? Are the details you've selected building atmosphere? And I think with description, there is a balance. Too much description can slow down or interrupt a scene, but if you have little description, I think it can cause confusion about where the scene is taking place. And we can kind of feel like we're floating versus being grounded in a place. So that's my 6th tip. My final tip is a very practical one. I recently discovered the read aloud function in my word processing software. I use Word, but I believe other software has this option as well. I get the computer to read my story aloud. Not only do I listen to the story in a new way, considering the flow and the pace, but also it catches where I've left out a word or have used the wrong word. I'm a touch typist, so my flying fingers sometimes type from instead of form or breath instead of breathe, and it kind of understands and I can hear where those words are missing or where the words are wrong. So again, it's that line editing stage. But getting your computer to read your entire story aloud is a big commitment of time, but I find it well worth it. So that's my final tip. I hope you found them helpful. There are loads more of exercises and tips in my 3-part series for Writing Magazine. And obviously all of them are in my book, The Ultimate Guide to Editing Your Novel. Happy editing. I hope you've enjoyed, those tips have been helpful.